Hi, this is Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and on today's video we'll be taking a look at this crazy basket case of a motherboard. This is the MSI MPG X870i Edge TI EVO WiFi. This is based on the AMD X870 chipset and has some crazy features like Wi-Fi 7, USB 4, 3 M.2 connections, a mad 8-phase VRM with 105 amp chokes in an 8+2+1 configuration. It also has a 12-layer PCB, a crazy expansion board, and loads of accessories. And it costs quite a lot of money. This board, at the time of recording, is on the market for somewhere in the region of £400. And it doesn't help if you say it faster, it still hurts just as much. But if you want the premium ITX experience in your computer and you want lots of connectivity, then this may be worth putting on your shopping list. And if you're watching this in a few years' time, it's probably going to be half the price, in which case you may pick up an absolute bargain. So in today's video, I'm going to do an unboxing on what we get here, go through all the specs, take a close-up of the board, and then at the end of this video, you can decide whether or not this is going to be the right one for you. So, as part of unboxing, obviously, you get the motherboard itself, and this is firmly within the ITX form factor. As you can see, it's absolutely tiny, but also very heavy. It's got some massive heat sinks over the main VRM area, and also over both the chipset and also the M.2, or at least the primary M.2. But we'll take a closer look at the board as we go through it. Other things included in the box, you get a Wi-Fi 7 antenna. This is also the antenna for your Bluetooth 5.4, which is also built in, and it's got those nice push fit connectors which you don't have to screw on. I do like that. Also, for those of you wondering, the antenna, or aerial as we call them here in the UK, is magnetic as well, so if you want to attach it to something metal, you certainly can do. Also included, there are the usual things, so you get your pamphlets, quick start guide, European regulatory notice if you're in the European region. You also get the MSI shout out leaflet, so if you want to do a review, and potentially you could win yourself some Steam game vouchers if they like your review or whatever. Also, you get some stickers, some pearlescent style stickers, so if you want to adorn things like your fan connections, your SATA plugs and all that kind of stuff, then you can do RGB connections, etc. So you can color code it, or you can just stick these willy-nilly all over your case. The choice is entirely up to you. Now, in terms of other hardware which is included, you get a pair of SATA cables. Also, you do get a MSI Easy Connect connection. So this Easy Connect connection is being used on some of new MSI components, or can just be used to make your life a little bit easier. So this essentially is one connection, this one here, which goes to the motherboard, and then that breaks off into a USB 2.0 header. There's also a PWM header and also an addressable ARGB header. So those you can plug in one cable and take that to wherever else you want inside the case. So whether you want to use it or not, it's entirely up to you, but it does give you one of each of those connectors. Also, you get this cable here. So this is a extension front panel connector. Now you're probably thinking, well, why would I need an extension front panel connector? When you know where the front panel connector is on the motherboard, you'll understand this entirely, because it's an absolute pain in the backside to get to. So including this, I think, rather than being a luxury, is more of a necessity. Also included is a 32 gig flash drive, USB flash drive, and on this there is two separate partitions, one of which is a bootable section. Well, not bootable, but a kind of a live disk. So this has your drivers and stuff on, and it's actually quite useful because the components on this board, such as the 5 gig LAN and also the Wi-Fi 7 integration, those aren't built into Windows. So to get actually online and start doing updates and using your computer, potentially you are going to need this to even maybe sign into your Microsoft account. So nice that they've included that, very handy. All the other drivers are on there as well, and also MSI utilities should you wish to install them. And also included in the package is this kind of Daughterboard or Mezzanine card or expansion slot, whatever you want to call it. So this you actually take and put it onto the motherboard. There's probably some B-roll of this, but it slots into the slot here, which almost like a SODIMM type connection. And what this gives you is some extra connectivity that you couldn't fit on the board otherwise, because it's crammed already. So you get two SATA ports, that's fine. You also get a USB Type-C. That USB Type-C actually fits onto this little doodah or dongle, and you plug that into there, and then that gives you your USB front panel connectors for your Type-A connection. Next to that, there is a USB Type-C internal connection, which also has up to 27 watts power delivery, and that is going to be USB 20 gigabits per second, so nice and fast, and also power delivery, so that's pretty cool. And also on the end there is a 12 volt RGB connection, if you are still using 12 volt RGB, some people possibly are, so it's nice that it's there. And weirdly, or strangely, or pretty cool, on the back of this there is actually a M.2 slot, so this is going to be up to 2280 size drives, and this is PCI Express Gen 4 x 4. Now this can be looked at as being the third slot on the board, or second slot, however you kind of choose to confirm it or use it. So you've got 3 slots in total, but if you want to have 3 slots for M.2, you do have to use this board. Now you don't have to use this board if you don't want to, so if you want to forego your front panel connectivity for USB Type-C and also the Type A connections, and you don't want to use the 12 volt RGB or SATAs, etc., you don't have to plug this in. It doesn't actually affect the operation of the board itself, so that is optional, but I think most people will probably end up using it. Okay, that is pretty much it for the accessories. That's taken a long time to get there, so now let's take a look at the board itself. So as I said, this is using a 12 layer PCB, so basically industrial quality. You've got that 8+2+1 VRM setup, so 8 for your main VRM, 2 for the SoC, and 1 miscellaneous, all of which 105 amp rated, and also got this massive heatsink, which is really heavy, and also has an integrated fan, as you can just about possibly make out underneath here. So there is actually a VRM fan. Now don't worry, you can control the fan. It plugs into this header in the top, and when you go into the BIOS, you do have full control over that fan. So if you want it to run full blast to keep your VRM nice and cool, you can do that. Obviously, it spins up to 9,000 RPM, so it is going to make a bit of a noise when it's running at full blast, but again, you can configure it, and obviously you will get a slight trade-off in terms of VRM cooling. Obviously not a huge amount, because it is a pretty tiny fan. So let's go around the board and see what we've got. So in this top corner, we've got the 8-pin EPS, or CPU supplementary power connection. Next to that, you've got the little connector there for the VRM fan. Then there's a couple of JC, or chassis interrupts, or chassis intrusion connections, if you want to use those. Then moving along from there, you've got your PWM connections. So you've got one for your CPU fan, you've got one for an AIO. Then you've also got a system fan connector. And next at the end, you've got that easy connection, or easy connect. So with that one again, that's going to give you another PWM, another USB 2.0, and also another ARGB 3-pin 5-volt addressable. So quite a lot of connectivity along that top edge there. Next to that, you've got the RAM slots. So this is probably going to support 128 gigs of RAM, so 2 64 gig kits. Memory speeds up to 8,000 megatransfers per second. Potentially more by the time you watch this video, because they do increase as time goes on. Then you've got your main 24-pin power connector, and something as well which is quite nice, the fact that they've color coded this as well, as much as they kind of can do really. So white RAM slots, white connections all along here, so if you are looking for that kind of completely whited out build, then this is a pretty good shout. So underneath that, we've got that connection there for the Mezzanine board, if you wish to use that. Again, it just locks into place, usual kind of stuff. So no real dramas there. Moving down, we have got our main CPU slot. So this is going to support pretty much every AM5 processor which has been made, and also future ones to come out, due to the fact that you've got a pretty decent VRM solution there. Next, underneath that, you have got the primary M.2. So this is PCI Express Gen 5 x 4. You've got this really nice heatsink, easy to remove as well, just with one finger, but I'm going to use 2 because I'm holding it in a funny angle. So you press the button in on the edge there, and then you can remove this solid chunk of metal in one go, and then that is going to reveal the M.2 board here. And also on there is a USB front panel header, and also another addressable ARGB port. So yeah, they're putting bits and pieces kind of wherever they can here. Obviously it is quite cramped for space due to the fact that you've got a big chipset, and also you've got this massive VRM cooler. Now this actually is a better design on the EVO version. The actual heatsink has been modified, because there was a problem on the previous version with some coolers. There was compatibility issues due to the fact that it did encroach into this area a little bit, so that is improved. So much wider compatibility with various heat sinks and water pumps, that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's pretty good. Going back to this section, so this board actually can be removed. So if you want to gain access underneath it, you can do. Underneath it, there's not a great deal. You'll see from some B-roll, there is a TPM connection underneath there, and also you've got the main heatsink for the actual chipset. When it comes to installing M.2s, very simple to do, just plug it into the side there. And this section only supports 2280 size drives, so you can't actually move that, unfortunately. But there is that little plastic clip which you can spin round to hold your drives in place, so that's fine. The only thing I would say is somewhat missing on here, and it's not going to affect everybody, but just to kind of make you aware, if you're using a double-sided M.2 drive, which are basically most of the older ones, there's no cooling on the backside. Potentially you could put your own custom cooler in there if you've got the room, but realistically the cooling is going to be predominantly or only on the top side. So just bear that in mind if you're speccing this out. Look at your M.2 drives and just make sure that it's a single-sided drive, which again most of them are these days anyway. Underneath that you've got your PCI Express Gen 5x16 slot, also armoured as well. Again, something which I think they could have done on here is to make this little clasp just a little bit bigger to give you a little bit more access to it, but yeah, I guess it's absolutely fine. And almost last of all, we've got the front panel connection there, so that again is going to be a little bit tight because you've got your RAM there, potentially your graphics card, maybe your M.2s and stuff, so getting to that isn't particularly easy. Again, going back to the extensions, you can plug the extension in there, kind of fold it around and get it out of the way so you can just get access to that a little bit easier. Other than that, that's pretty much it. On this kind of bottom edge, there is the audio connection, so that is for your front panel audio. The audio on this is using Realtek ALC 4080 codec, which is yeah, pretty decent. It's going to give you kind of 7.1 surround sound should you wish to. Also, the BIOS battery is kind of tucked in here, and there isn't actually a CMOS reset on the board itself. That is actually located on the back, which is a terrific segue to look at the rear connectivity. So looking on the back of the board here, so here is all of your main connectivity. So you've got a HDMI output if you're using onboard graphics. Next to that, you've got your USB Type-C. The two Type-Cs here are both 40 gigabit per second, so that's USB 4 rather than USB 3, so nice fast speeds available on those. And also both of them will support alternate display port outputs as well, so that's pretty cool. Got two red color coded ports here, so that's USB Type A, 10 gigabits per second. Next to that, you've got your CMOS reset. Obviously there wasn't room to put one on the board, so it's on the back here. And underneath that is the BIOS update button. We've done a separate video on that if you want to see how to update the BIOS, but it's pretty much the same as all the other MSI boards of this kind of recent generation. Next to that, you've got another two red color coded ports, so those are both 10 gigabits per second. Those are USB Type A. And our last block here, so we've got our 5 gigabit LAN. Also, you've got another 10 gigabit USB, and underneath that, you've got a 10 gigabit USB Type-C. So plenty of USB connectivity there. What we've got 3, 6, 8 connections there, plus whatever you connect up to your front panel. So for ITX, I think that's pretty decent. Also, we've got our connections there, the plug-in connections for your antenna for your Wi-Fi and Bluetooth 5.4. Again, with the Wi-Fi, it's Wi-Fi 7, so supporting the BE standard. Audio jacks, you've got audio line in, line out, and also you've got your optical SPDIF. And if you thought that was it, no, you'd be mistaken, because we haven't seen the back of this board yet. So on the back of the board, yes, there is a additional heatsink on the back of the VRM there as well. And also you can undo those screws to remove the VRM should you need to. But what is more interesting is the fact there is another M.2 slot on the back. Now with the M.2 slots, I suppose we should kind of backtrack a little bit on that. Obviously the primary M.2 with that massive heatsink is going to be absolutely fine, no problems at all, because it's using the kind of the height of the board rather than the kind of width, so to speak. But if you are installing other M.2 drives, such as one in this Mezzanine card, and again you're seeing some B-roll of this with it installed, there isn't a massive amount of room to put heatsinks on there, especially in this position, because obviously the RAM is going to be pretty much straight in your way. So do be mindful of the drives you install. Gen 5 drives are going to run pretty hot, and some of the Gen 4 ones if they're some of the kind of high performance ones, so do bear that in mind. And again, the same goes for the back one as well, because obviously the only kind of gap you've got here is going to be your motherboard standoffs to the case. So again, putting a heatsink on the drive on the back is going to be tough. You might get one which is a couple of millimeters thick, but that is literally going to be about it. This one is PCI Express Gen 4x4. Like I said, this one on the Mezzanine card is PCI Express Gen 4x4, and this one here is PCI Express Gen 5x4. So there you go, there is a look and overview of this absolute basket case of motherboard. It's just insane. It is probably one of the highest end ITX X870 boards on the market. If you differ or don't disagree, then please do let me know in that comments section below. But yeah, I think this is, well, if you're looking at specifically doing an ITX build and you do want like a premium quality one, I think this is a really good shout. Again, 3 M.2s is a very rare thing to see on ITX in general, even on some micro ATX and ATX boards, to be honest with you. So yeah, to have that amount of connectivity. Also, you've got the easy breakout box as well. You've got that extra mezzanine board. You've got that nice white and silvery chrome aesthetic with the extra VRM cooler in there, which you can adjust the fan speed of, which is, again, a very nice touch. That was something which never used to be a thing. It used to be just they ran it whatever speed they needed to or were thermally controlled, whereas this, you can adjust it to your particular likings. Whether you need it or not is going to depend on the CPU you install in here, and also airflow within the case, obviously. But yeah, there you go, for around about £400 as of the time of recording, which is the middle of May 2026. It's a lot of money, but yeah, that's ITX for you. But anyway, I think that's going to wrap this one up. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. If you have, smash that like button. If you want to see more content like this on a daily basis, maybe consider hitting subscribe, and also hit the all notifications button. That way you'll be notified of future video releases. But I've been Mike. This is Mike's unboxing, reviews and how to, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.